you might not be diagnosed with anxiety, but I think every athlete knows they've felt anxiety.
Yeah. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Talk Elevation. I'm Mikayla, joined by Adisyn, and today we're also joined by Alison Gorrell, a former professional basketball player, mental performance coach, and founder of AG Performance. Alison turned experience into a powerful mission, helping athletes strengthen their mindset and perform at their best. From working with national teams to Olympians, she's built a career focused on bridging the gap between mental health and elite performance. Alison, we're so excited to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me. That was an awesome intro. Oh. Thank you.
There we go. Yeah. We wanted to give you the best intro. So
yeah.
Here
So Alison, take us back to the beginning. How did it all start? How did you transfer, psychology into the athlete perspective, things like that?
Yeah. Well, my career started with just playing basketball. I was a multi-sport athlete growing up, but then realized I wanted to focus on basketball. And then from there, kind of went the D1 path. First school I went to wasn't the best fit for me for a lot of reasons. Second school was a much better fit, which then ultimately led me to wanting to play professionally overseas. Mm-hmm. I had an awesome mentor at the time who got me connected with a team over there that offered me to do my master's at the same time. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I didn't have a vision of what I wanted to do, but I valued education. I was like, free master's, sure. Like, that would be awesome, you know?
Yeah, okay.
So then basically I was pursuing some different options, just like going fully professional or this other option. And they told me to just look through the different master's programs, see what caught my eye. And at the time, now this goes back a while, there really weren't a lot of sports psychology master programs in the States. There were, I think, 3 offered at the time.
Oh, wow.
So, since then, it's totally blown up. But at the time, no one really spoke about it. So I saw that, and I was like, oh, wow, this sounds interesting. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think that I'd want to go into sports psychology, but I thought maybe if I coached, it would be helpful for me. And I just found it interesting. I always felt like the mental side of sports was such a huge piece of it.
So important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, that could be really interesting without any formal plan or anything like that. But then once I went over there, this was in the UK, I played with a professional team. I did all my education and got a lot of experience out there. And through the kind of networking, the trainers I worked with, I stumbled upon some really cool opportunities early on with the Scotland national beach volleyball team. That was the first opportunity. Got to go on their world tour with them.
That's so
Ended
awesome.
up being in Australia at the Commonwealth Games with them because they qualified. Incredible experience. Great athletes. And that was the first experience where I was like, whoa, this really, you can make a difference and this can really impact people. And then I got an opportunity with a soccer team, so football for them, and a top women's team over there, and got to work with them. And this was all through random connections. Like, these are opportunities that,
came out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I felt so lucky. And I think that was the moment where I was like, you know what, I could make this something, and kind of went from there.
Nice. That's awesome. It's cool to have all those doors just open up for you.
Yeah.
Too. And you're just like, boom, boom.
Yeah. I mean, it really, like, they talk about with networking, like, you never really know who are the people that are going to, open up doors for you. Right. And I was not thinking that I was quote unquote networking at the time, but just creating good relationships along the way, talking to people, working with different trainers and coaches, and just making really strong relationships with people. It ends up really opening more doors than anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when it was just so new and everyone's just finally kind of understanding this and getting into it. So you talk a lot about, like, you mentioned that the mental side of sports isn't a quick fix. It takes a lot of time, just like the physical side. Can you just dive deeper in that, why it's so important to focus on mental?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of times when most people think about the mental game, it feels very much like you have it or you don't, or like you have a good pump up speech and you get into a good mindset, or you're feeling confident one day, and it feels very black and white. Mm-hmm. But really, we should think about the mental side of sports as a skill that you develop. just like you would develop a skill in basketball or you would go into weight training. You don't build muscle in one gym session. You might feel pumped up, but just like a pump up speech, but you're not actually gaining muscle off of one session. So it's the same thing with these mental skills. You're training and programming your brain to operate a certain way, to manage pressure a certain way, or think about things a certain way. And there's a lot of layers to it. Like, how are you prepping for things? How are you talking to yourself during competition? How do you frame things in your mind? What is your routine after competition? So, and that's just to name a few, but there are so many layers to it that I think people don't fully understand. And then it takes repetition to make it automatic.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you created AG Performance to fill a gap that there was in the mental performance way. How have you supported these athletes mentally, and how did you find that?
Yeah, so at the time, I still wanted to play basketball. So after I had these opportunities, I kind of decided I'm just going to go play pro for a little bit because I wanted that experience.
Okay.
But pretty quickly, I realized that I wanted something else, you know, and I wanted to be mentally engaged with something else. And so that's when I started looking at what opportunities are there out there. And I was in Europe. So I'm looking back in America of like, what's out there, what job posting, like really nothing. Yeah. What existed was more like clinical psychology opportunities with a focus in sports. So it wasn't like a sports psychologist or a mental performance coach. And that's where I had a very different viewpoint on things. In Europe and the UK, like it existed a bit more, and the training I had was a bit more that middle ground. But in America, I was like, well, you really have this very kind of narrow lane of this clinical psychology, and then you work clinical psychology with athletes. But I really felt like it needed to be that the performance side of it, but then also the mental health side of it, that you might not be diagnosed with anxiety, but I think every athlete knows they've felt anxiety.
Yeah.
You know?
2 seconds for a game, boom, that's anxiety. Like,
exactly. Or feeling a little depressed, you know?
Like you're upset. You have emotions. You don't want to lose. You know.
Oh, absolutely. And when you care so deeply, when this is people's like livelihood or something, it's everything. And so finding that middle ground of how each affect each other. So that's the gap I wanted to fill and then offer it to more people. And so that's when this is lucky but unlucky, that's when COVID hit. And the lucky part for me was people started accepting doing things remote, and people also were talking about mental health. So I thought the biggest barrier was going to get people to understand it's important. Yeah. But then that kind of happened on its own. And then I was able to start doing remote work and working with athletes all around the world because I had these connections in Europe and Australia from playing and different agents that I worked with, but then also kind of introducing this back home a little bit. And of course it started to build on its own too, but I kind of caught the wave at the right time.
Right, a new idea forming.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Before we move on, let's talk about something every serious athlete needs to pay attention to: your digital footprint. Fan-Day Nation has just released a powerful new tool to help athletes make sure their social media profiles are fully optimized and recruit ready. Today, coaches aren't just evaluating game film, they're evaluating character, leadership, and maturity online. This resource gives you a step-by-step roadmap to clean up your profiles, highlight your strengths, and avoid common mistakes that can cost opportunities. If playing at the next level is your goal, don't leave your online presence to chance. Go check it out now at fandaynation.com. Yeah. What's something that especially parents and people in youth sports misunderstand about sports psychology and mental health?
I think the first thing is what we kind of touched on already, that it's like, okay, we meet once, we talk about it, and then it's all good. Mm-hmm. So I think first that it's a skill that you build. Mm-hmm. I think the other piece of it is, I think a lot of the ownership is put just on the athlete, which I totally agree with. Like, you got to have agency, you got to take a lot of ownership. But for youth athletes, there's a lot of people involved. You got the youth coaches, you've got parents, you know.
Yes.
I might spend 1 hour with your kid in a week. you are with your kid after every practice, at dinner, you know, all these times. And so they're going to have a huge influence on the way that their kid processes things and how they're reflecting on things and the pressure that they feel. I can't tell you how many kids will talk to me about the pressure they feel around the money that their parents are putting into this, like their sport.
They feel guilty in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I lose, then I've wasted my parents' money. And I don't think parents understand that these comments or how they're talking to their kids after games are like, well, why is my kid not confident? And there's a multitude of reasons that they're also influencing. And if they want their kid to perform under pressure, but they're losing their minds on the sideline, well, you know, it's not gonna work out. Yeah, like
let's look in the mirror.
Exactly. So there's all these influences. So I think also understanding that is a big piece of it. And then I would say the last big thing is that these skills are sports skills, but life skills. That not a lot of these kids realistically are going to be professionals. They're going to go on to do other jobs. Some of them won't play college. And that's great. That's totally okay. Sports are so valuable in so many ways. But we need to learn these skills of how to deal with things mentally, because that's also how do you respond to failure at a job interview or all of these other high pressure moments that they'll have in their life. These are skills that can take them everywhere. So I think that's a big piece that the value in it, basically.
No, 100%.
For sure.
So you growing up being a professional athlete, doing all this, how does that help you to connect with these players and coaches, parents?
It's huge. I think, honestly, not that you can't do it without that experience. I think absolutely you could. However, I think that having been in these moments, feeling what it feels like to just feel embarrassed or devastated, or these like high pressure moments where you care so much, where maybe other people don't understand why it's that big of a deal, but it is, like as athletes, it feels like life or death sometimes. I think that's huge. Also, traveling. So I played in a lot of different countries, and also like worked in people all around the world. And I think a big piece of it is understanding cultures and like backgrounds and how different countries do it. And also what it's like to leave your family and go across the world and be on your own in a country where they speak a different language, and how to navigate the mental side of that. And so the athletes that either come to America to go to college or vice versa, people playing professionally overseas, like those are things that it's kind of hard to fully wrap your head around until you've lived it, until you're super isolated and the only person you can talk to is the other American on the basketball team. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a huge upper hand you have over a lot of different coaches, mental performance, because I mean, I worked on a cruise ship last summer, completely besides the point, but there was so many different cultures and everything, and that was something I struggled with in the beginning, because you really don't realize how different the world is in each part, so especially with sports and that common knowledge.
And that's scary when you're not comfortable all of a sudden. Yeah.
That's important.
For sure.
How important is it for these athletes to, be comfortable and have confidence in themselves?
It's everything, honestly. I mean, there's so many, like, the cliche quotes about like what you believe you are, like that type of thing. But basically how our brain works, or at least how I like to describe it, is it's basically follow the leader. Where your brain goes, your body's going to follow. So if you're telling yourself, or your belief system is saying, oh, I might mess up, or this might not go well, pretty much guaranteeing that it's not going to go well.
Not go well. Yeah.
And so being able to build that is really important. But one distinction that I think is important for athletes to understand, that having confidence is not believing that everything will go well. Confidence is being able to step into uncertainty and difficult situations and trust yourself to navigate it. It's not always going to go perfect. If you're challenging yourself, you're going to fail a lot, and that's part of it, but you have to trust yourself to take on those challenges and push yourself. And I think if you see that as confidence, almost like synonymous with courage more so, then it feels more doable to have confidence, rather than this belief that everything's always going to go perfect.
Because it's not.
Yeah, absolutely not.
There has to be a balance.
Yeah, for sure.
We're proud to celebrate women who lead on and off the court. Nico Stones welcomes new brand ambassador Sophie Zadell, a standout basketball player at the University of Colorado. Her exclusive edits is all about confidence, strength, and the style that moves with you. Support women in sports and shop Sophie's limited collection now at nicostones.com.
The recruiting world today is so much different than it used to be. So what are the biggest mindset challenges you're seeing in high school and college athletes right now, just trying to get seen?
Oh, yeah, man, it's brutal, as you guys know, for sure. I think part of it is the pressure to specialize super early, which from a mental side, and I think there's lots of studies out on a physical side too, that it's not always the best thing to specialize at such a young age. But it's crazy how early these kids are, like 7th grade being like, yeah, I want to go D1. And my parents are talking about all of these things, which for sure. I love the dreams, and that is great. And I believe that you can achieve that. But it takes away the joy and the kind of that intrinsic motivation. So we have intrinsic and extrinsic motivations, and extrinsic is things like going D1, what your parents want from you, like doing it for other people. That will take you far, but only so far. What we want to build is that internal intrinsic motivation where you're like, I'm doing this because I want it, because I love it, because there's joy. And so making sure that people build that up early is really important. And then just like figuring out what people want, I think is really challenging. I mean, now you have NIL and there's money involved. It's really built more like a professional league more than anything now.
It's a full-time job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, it's very, very easy to get blinded by the sales pitches, basically, more now than ever. And I think I was blinded a little bit by that when I went through the process, and then it was much more clear the second time around. But helping kids actually understand what's important to them, because yes, the gear, the showy things, that's going to be awesome for about 5 days. After that, you get in there, and if you don't connect with the coach, if you're terrified, if you have high anxiety, if you don't feel connected, well, does that gear matter anymore? So I think helping kids understand what matters and what their priorities are, and it's going to be different for everybody, but helping people understand the different pressures at play and navigating the business side of it now.
So along with that pressure and anxiety, what's a skill or mindset shift that these athletes can do to, change it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the most important one that actually people get wrong a lot of the time, so everyone talks about positive self-talk, right? And why people reject it quite a lot is because it feels like trying to paint just like rainbows over a bad situation. So oftentimes
doesn't work.
Their brain will just reject it. So if you feel like you did terrible and then you're telling yourself, oh, it's good, like I can do it. But then your brain's like, well, why? Like you just suck. Why would I believe that? Your brain is just rejecting it. So one of the skills to be able to improve your self-talk is trying to connect your self-talk with something you truly believe. So one of the first things I do with athletes is make them create a confidence list. Tell me why you deserve to believe in yourself. Tell me why, like the work you've put in, what skills you've gained, who you are, what is your identity? Because if your brain doesn't have that proof of why it should believe you in that moment, it's going to reject it. If you've only said negative things to yourself, why would your brain all of a sudden in a high pressure moment be like, yeah, I'm going to trust you right now.
You can do this.
Yeah. Exactly. So you have to have the repetition of thinking through the reasons you deserve to believe in yourself and then create some self-talk ahead of time. So for example, if you believe that you are ultra competitive, that you are one of the hardest workers out there, and that's part of your identity that you see in yourself, a self-talk might be find a way. So instead of just trying to be like fake positive with yourself, like, I got it, it's all good. It's like, no, this is hard, so find a way. Keep going. Because that connects your mind back to, oh, that's who I am. I'm a competitor. I work hard, so I'm going to find a way. So that's just a very generic example, but learning to do self-talk that connects with something you believe rather than just something very like fluffy and like fake positive kind of.
Right. Well, I'm going home and making a confidence list.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, just for life, and to like have that like list in the back of your head to go through, in those moments when you think you're gonna be upset. I mean, this has taken me back to like playing softball and being like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make an error. And then then you make an error. So having that confidence back then, I think mental performance, everything, that can change your whole trajectory of sports.
Absolutely. Because even using that example, you probably did those actions thousands of times in practice. And part of decreasing pressure is normalizing that moment of, nothing changes.
It's just practice.
Yeah, it's just the same thing.
Exactly. And teaching yourself and having repetition, reminding yourself, I'm good at these moments. And this is something I do all the time versus, oh my gosh, this is the biggest moment ever. I can't make a mistake and I'm about to make a mistake and then I'm going to be so mad at myself when I do. Of course, your brain is going to be like, alarm signals, protect yourself. You're about to be doing something that you are going to feel horrible about.
Right. Yeah. Well, one last question for you before we let you go. What do you want athletes to take away after they speak to you, and what you hope if they can't fix everything all at once and they're struggling to what do you hope they fix one thing and they take away from you?
Oh, that's a great question. Got to think about that for a second. I guess just kind of to add on to like piggyback on kind of the similar sentiment is one of the most important things that we do is how we reflect on things. So how we reflect on something is going to always influence the way we approach the next thing that we do. So for example, if an athlete finishes something and the last thing they're telling themselves is that was so bad, so embarrassing, I hate this. No matter what, you're approaching the next thing and your brain is wanting to protect you. And so it's going to send you that signal of anxiety to be like, hey, don't do this thing because you're about to feel terrible afterwards, because that's what it remembers. It remembers you feeling terrible. So if there's one thing that's so easy for athletes to do is reflect in a more helpful, constructive way. You either learn from it or you let it go. And take the things you can learn, the rest of it, move forward, because ruminating on things, holding on to things, it's only going to kill your confidence, take your joy, and really ruin your next opportunity too. So I think it's hard to build belief, and it takes action and repetition, but instantly you can kill your confidence in one reflection. So we at least want to do no harm there. And I think if that can be one actionable thing people can take away, I think you're going to set yourself up to at least stay a bit more level-headed.
Absolutely. Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We've learned so much, I think.
Well, thank you.
And I'm not even playing sports anymore, but I'm going to take everything you said into my own life. But where can people find you online, your website, everything?
Everything is Coach Gorrell. Okay. So Instagram is at Coach Gorrell, Gorrell for anyone. TikTok is the same with my email at gmail.com, and then my website is coachgorrell.com. So please reach out. I'm happy to get back to anyone that emails me or asks me any questions. It's important for me to help as many people and athletes as possible. So as much outreach as I can do, please don't hesitate to ask.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. And to everyone listening, make sure to check her out. Check out AG Performance. We'll see you next time. This was The Talk, and comment and subscribe.